These are a working man's rifle, those uppers. They're a working man's gun part. It's durable. It's made to be more of a workhorse. I bought 6 side-charging AR uppers from Bear Creek Arsenal. I've had them for several years and I still own 4 of them. I've done a lot of thorough testing on them, and I want to talk today about their durability, their reliability, and how accurate they are. Everything that I've learned in the past few years of really beating these things up and just testing them and trying them in harsh conditions. Now, some people are going to be surprised to learn just what I really think about BCA rifles. Bear Creek Arsenal. I like them. In fact, I'm actually doing some promotional deals online with them. I think they're a great option for most people, and I recommend them to my friends and family. Let me tell you a little bit about what I like about their rifles. First and foremost, I like the price. I mean, if I can get an AR upper ready to slap on my rifle and shoot for $250, I think I paid, well, this one is my 7.6239 upper, and I paid $239 plus a couple pennies. Shipping is included, and they have very fast shipping, so it gets here right away. There's nothing overly fancy about these rifles other than the fact that it's side charging, which I love. The fact that it just has, just like my regular rifles, like my 10-22 over here. It's just side charging, so as I'm shooting away, I just side charge to keep going. I like that because it's intuitive. That's how most hunting rifles have always been. They've been side charging like that. So when we get a side charging AR, unlike one like this, it's got the charging handle standard, rear charging handle. I don't like this because with the scope, especially with the low profile scope, I always like them low profile because it's more of a streamlined shot for figuring out my accuracy and distance for hunting and target shooting, so I got to get my head down lower. Well, this is hard to get at. I've got to reach with 2 fingers over the scope, and it's just the tips of my fingers that are really able to engage into this thing, and I got to pull it like this, which is really annoying. With a little work, I can pull it like this with 1 finger, but I'm just barely able to get into there because of my scope. I don't like the rear charging handle. Now I know that a lot of guys really like that, and that's because they've gotten used to it through military service. Awesome, that's fine. I find that with non-military gear, something like a standard scope, it makes that rear charging handle ridiculously hard to operate, just slower, and I fumble. I can't get it with gloves on at all with a scope on it, especially if I have a fatter scope. This is a fairly low profile scope. If you got a fatter scope, I just can't work the handle. So having that rear charging handle having the side charging handle rather, is in my opinion quite awesome. Oh, I love how quick these things snap in. Look at that. I am able to fire 7.6239, a nice 30 caliber hunting round. That is a dirty scope. Yeah. So I love their price point, and I love that side charging handle. If you're wearing gloves, I'm out here in northern Michigan doing some hunting. I'm probably going to have some hefty gloves on. I can manipulate the trigger because I can get my finger in there, and I can learn to work that. But grabbing this with gloves is easy. I love that. And the next thing I like about these rifles is that most of the designs have the full-length rail, which all that means is you have options. My DPMS here, the older one, this was granted, it was an older style. This sucker's probably a little older than 10 years old at the time, which for a AR, I guess, is a little old considering they haven't been popular for long. But it's got a rail here, and it's got the tiny little gas block rail. This just limits my options, and they did it this way originally. They wanted to have less rail because it was so new having the rail all the way down. People didn't really like it so much. The hunting crowd didn't embrace it, so they wanted just the smallest amount of rail you could get away with. So I've got this, which works because I do have a nice free-floating handguard. It helps for accuracy, but you know what? This is free-floating too. The whole handguard doesn't touch the barrel. And I got that rail all the way down, which means any combination of lights, lasers, sights, scopes, red dots, holographs, I can put anything wherever I want, wherever it's going to work for me. It's just options. I love that. Similar to this rifle here, which is by far my favorite of all AR. A little harder to come by. It's a custom shop around here that makes these. That rail all the way down, I can just slap on some irons on that and I love it. You can't slap on irons too well on something short. So the Bear Creek rifles, they're cheap. I love the side charging. It's reliable and it works great. And they almost all come with that long rail. I like that. One downside is they have kind of a different sound when you're racking into it. Maybe you can hear that. It's got kind of a ring versus this one. This one's more of a solid clank, and this one's got more of a little bit more of a ping to it. Partly that's just the style of the metal that's used here in the rail. The other part of that, though, is it's just a result of the type of buffer spring that I needed for some of these heavier calibers. I'll also tell you that these don't have a super durable type of finish on them. They've got a functional finish, and I can't get anything in here to rust. I can't get the barrels to rust. I mean, the aluminum handrails, those are aluminum, they're not going to rust. They're coated decently, but they're not coated in a way to be beautiful. This is never intended to be a beauty queen or a safe queen, not something that I'm going to go and bring out just to impress someone with by looking at it. These are a working man's rifle, those uppers. They're a working man's gun part. It's durable. It's made to be more of a workhorse. They are fairly accurate, too. Let me show you. I've got some targets here from when I brought this one out to sight it in for the first time. More accurate than people tend to give it credit for. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. BCA 7.6239, 50 yards, 3-shot group in 10 seconds. You see that one there? That's 3 shots in 10 seconds. Now I was a little bit more warmed up at the time, but they shoot pretty good. Let's see here. BCA 7.6239, 100 yards slow fire. That's actually 3 shots. Let me get a little closer. So there's 1 shot down here in the middle, and then there's 2 right up here at the top. That is within 1 inch for the entire group. It's slightly up. I'll take that any day. Here's another one for my 7.6239 Bear Creek upper. 3 shots, 100 yards, 10 seconds. I got hole right there. Not bad at all. Let's see here. BCA 7.6239, 100 yards, 10 seconds. 1, 2, 3. I like the faster shooting because it pressures you into really having to work a little more. It's more of a real life type situation where maybe you're out hunting and you need some follow-up shots. So doing the about 3 seconds in between shooting, about 10 seconds for 3 shots. I love that shot shot timing because it really helps to train you. And if you haven't done it before, work on it. It'll impress you. A few more targets right here. All right. BCA 7.6239. This is 4 shots at 100 yards, and this one again is my 10 seconds. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. A little off at the side, a bigger group. I'll take it. I was shooting fairly fast. Let's see here. Some of the other ones that weren't so nice. By the way, these bigger paper targets were shot with Tulamo. I have 1, 2, 3, 4. 4 shots. 100 yards. BCA. Tulamo. I'll take that. Let's see what we got here. This was actually my initial sighting in groups. My first 3 shots. 1, 2, 3. My second 3 shots. 1, 2, 3. Not bad at all. BCA. 7.6239. What do you think about that? Let's see here. How about this one? This was my 6.5 Grendel. Again at 100 yards. If I put another paper behind, the bullets will show up better. Those holes will. Take a look at that. Now, I'm not a hair-splitting precision shooter. I never have been. Kind of wish I was. To get to that even beyond practical level of accuracy. I'd love to be. I can't dedicate enough work and time to get there yet. But, I mean, shooting what is, except if I exclude one, okay, if I exclude that one, I've got a 1-inch group at 100 yards. I'll take it. I'll take it. For a rifle that is sub $300 for that upper, you gonna complain about that? How about this one? Look at that. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8, 9, 2 are in the same hole. Oh, and 10, one right up here. 10-shot group, 100 yards with my 6.5 Grendel BCA side charging upper. Now, I'm showing you all those just to prove a point. I purchased 6 of these uppers, and I'll use them on any of my lowers. 6 of those uppers, I've never had one that with good ammo wouldn't shoot 1-inch groups at 100 yards. And I'm not the best shot. So somebody who's got much calmer nerves than I and a better eye than I ought to shoot at least a little bit better groups than that with these rifles if they give it a little time to work with them. My point is that for $300 or even $250, if you just get one of the cheaper ones, and it's shooting 1-inch groups at 100 yards with good ammo, an 1.5 to 2-inch groups at 100 yards with lousy ammo. I've got to say, these guns impress me, and I'm just going to keep recommending them to my friends and family. I also want to commend BCA on their customer follow-through. If you have a problem, you can get a hold of them. They tend to get right back with you. I know for a while, several years back, they had some trouble with that. They were quite short-staffed, and well, they got over that, and they've hired some new people. I know their customer staff workers by name. They're good at their job. Their shipping is fast. They get right back to you, and if you do have an issue with the rifles, they're going to fix it and make it right. For the record, out of the 6 that I've bought, I've never had an issue. They've all been flawless. The only thing I will say is sometimes with the heavier caliber uppers, you need a different buffer spring. 7.6239 works great with the standard 223.556 buffer spring, but if I'm running something like the 450 Bushmaster, which by the way I have, that's a lot of wallop on a 223 strength buffer spring. I need to have something stiffer than that. So really the only most common issue with these is you got to have the right buffer spring in your stock to handle the recoil and the cycling of the rounds you're using. I recently bought a magazine, 3 actually. A little frustrated about it. I bought 3 magazines from a gun shop not far from here. I asked him for 6.5 Grendel magazines. He sold me 3. Okay. I got home and I looked at them. 2 of them said 6.8 on the bottom of the magazine. So we've got some issues. They had some different followers in them. Basically, I called him back and he told me, well, the 6.8s will work for the 6.5 just fine. Guess what? They don't. They feed like crap. They're garbage. And he doesn't accept refunds. Figure that. Ain't recommending that gun shop to anybody. But you've got to use the right magazine for the right caliber. Buy it from a reputable company, because a lot of people think you can just take a regular 223 magazine and shoot any of the 223-ish approximately sized casings through that. It doesn't usually work well unless you only load 1 or 2, and then still it tears up the bullets. It doesn't work well. Get the proper magazine. Some people have issues with some of the real funky bullets. Don't use some really crazy bullets. Stick with a fairly standard design, because that's what rifles are standardly built to handle. And they're going to work more efficiently, and they're going to be more reliable for you. Okay, well, I've got to clean the glass on that scope because it's gotten a crazy amount of dust sitting up here in the cabin. So I will let you go. Catch you later. Bye now.